He'd been doing all right until then. But the 9 didn't even have to have clever movement and just ran off and scored.
Role is recruitment manager, 12s to 23s, overlooking the players that we're looking to bring in, right from grassroots to international players. So it involves a lot of travelling, a lot of data, a lot of game watching, and obviously making sure that we can find out about players as much as possible. I'm working often 7-day weeks, minimum 6-day weeks, in order to get enough games covered. Today we're going to an under-18 fixture. I've got 4 players that I'm hoping will play, and I'll do the reports on those players. I try and arrive a minimum 45 minutes early before kickoff. I like to see the warm-up, see how the player, warms up. Does he warm up with a real good intensity, no matter the age? Does he take the warm-up seriously? Is he focused on the game? I've been to games before where, I've seen a player talking to family and friends when he should be warming up and focused on the game. There's real benefits into getting to a game early because you get to see things like that you wouldn't be privy to that information.
On a target player, you want to make sure, if they've got a historic trait, like today, for instance, so far the Huddersfield 5 is always the deepest defender. So is that just today? Is it tactical? Is he always the deepest? Not tonight, but tomorrow morning I'll do my report. So I just make flash notes, and then luckily with this, because it's streamed, I can watch it back tomorrow as well. There'll be bound to be things I've missed. So if I can, I always watch the game back and I do my report.
We feel that we've got a good kind of measurement in regards to how we recruit players, what we look for, why we feel they'd be right for our environment. And again, part of that process is really vetting the players' characteristics, looking at whether they can learn if they're learners and they can learn in our environment, whether they have the right character, and also, whether they have real long-term potential, whether it's athletically or in other areas. We always have a minimum of 5 reports on players, and obviously from those 5 reports, it should show that the player is a high potential and also hopefully high performance. But we don't get too caught up in the performance on the younger ones, because when you're dealing with young players, potential is the key criteria. We have a thing called a player passport, and I'll make sure the coaches have as much detail on that player as possible, so they can read that document and they'll have as much information about that player. They'll know what that player's hobbies are, they'll know what their football age is, and by their football age, how long they've been playing, if they've been in the academy system before, are they from, do they go to a good school, are they in a state school, whatever it might be. We make sure that they have as much information about that player. Me personally, I don't like to look at a player and think, okay, he's better than what we have, because ultimately, why would you bring in a player who's just better than what you have? If you don't believe the player has the potential to go on and play either in West Ham's first team or a first team, then I kind of feel you're wasting your time. I saw a stat recently that 83% of Champions League players were playing first team football by the age of 18. So that to me means the elite players start playing first team football early, but you know, it's not a one size fits all. There's a number of scenarios that can happen. You know, you look at players like Jesse Lingard at Manchester United, late developer, and who wasn't physically ready for first team football at 18 and 19, but he's now playing first team football and he's now in his mid-20s. So you will always come across players like that. It's just understanding kind of the mechanics and where a player is with their maturation as well.
I guess watching this many games, there's not a lot that surprises you anymore.
No, not much at all. We've been doing all right until then, but the 9 didn't even have to have clever movement and just ran off him and scored.
In London, you've got 14 category academies within, right from the bottom end of Leyton Orient and Barnet, who have academies, right to your Cat 1s in the area like Chelsea and Arsenal. So it's really, really competitive in London. You haven't just got to worry about the London clubs. Man City, Everton, Liverpool, Man United, these guys, all these clubs have recruitment guys that are based in London and actively are going to games throughout the week and at weekends in London. And the biggest challenge is the competition always to get the best players in, because we are really looking for elite players, and when you're looking for elite players, you're going to have competition. Nowadays, it's so hard, it's almost impossible for an elite young player to not be on everyone's radar, no matter who they play for. So they could play for a team in an obscure part of the country, and due to social media, everybody will know this player, and that then means that increased competition to sign the player if they are good enough for your environment, and sometimes you might have to move quicker than you would like.
He's got that. He's got that. Good, isn't he? And today, for him, he's been pretty average. Normally, he just dictates the pace of the game, like constantly gets on the ball. He'll always have the most touches on the pitch. He probably still has, to be fair.
It was a good game. Tough conditions for both teams. For me, I got to view players that were playing probably in front of the most amount of people ever so far in their careers, and still performed. There was no real poor performers on the night. Yeah, no, it was definitely a worthwhile exercise going to the game, and and I'll be watching it back again before I do my report. But yeah, definitely it was worth getting cold and wet for.